Hello and welcome to another drawing demo. Today we're going to continue drawing objects. The first thing we drew was a pear, and it was an artificial one at that. This one here is a genuine bird's nest, and what I wanted to do was make it more interesting by putting something in the nest. Usually we would put an egg in there, but this time I had an epiphany. And I thought, why not take some of my seashells and play around with that? And so I found this particular shell, and I'm going to replace the customary egg in the nest with a seashell in the nest. Also, there are two smooth stones. So this also will inspire the learner to think about collecting things. When you're out walking, you might find smooth stones. And if you live by the beach, you'll definitely find some seashells. And so I think that it's important for you to kind of be on the lookout when you're just going out for a stroll. The light is illuminating the nest from the left, and so we're going to imagine this as the classical way of lighting something. And so let's get started. Alright, what I did so far was I created a box to box in my nest. So what I did was I measured the height of what I'm looking at, and it turned out to be approximately this big. And so what I did was I multiplied it like that. So remember, the scale is going to be 1 to 2. We're blowing it up to 1 to 2. So same with how wide it is. So I found the most extreme size, I looked at my nest, and the things that are sticking out the furthest is a part of the nest. So I include that with how wide this is. And again, I first had something like this. I extended my arm out, locked at the elbow. Hopefully you can see that. See that? Like that. And locked at the elbow. And I am positioned properly. I have some markings on the floor. Some tape will do. And I just keep standing there when I get my measuring, my bearings. So I got that, and then I just doubled it. So now I have a box. That's the enveloping concept that we talk about. Now the next thing is the diagonal. So I extended my arm out like that, and I found how the longest part of that nest is going to create this angle. And so I just brought that over here like that. And you kind of got to wing it, gang. Again, remember I say sometimes you have to wing it or approximate. So I just kind of like pivot my whole body, and then boom. And so that's what we have. And I recommend boxing this in. That's what we're going to do. I'm being really attentive to the angles. You can kind of even use your thumb or your finger like this and kind of get an angle. You see that? You can do all sorts of neat things. Use your body as your helper. So I'm using my index finger, and I'm just kind of getting the top part of the nest, and yeah, it kind of fits that. That means this goes up like that. This kind of creeps up at an angle. I was a little bit mistaken. And that's kind of like what I have. And you're wondering, well, why did you draw this out here when you've ended the basic shape of the nest there? Well, the reason why is the extremity I was talking about is a few blades of grass. This is made of weeds and grass. And the few blades of grass kind of come out like this. And so I consider it part of the shape, part of the form. And so now I bring that stuff in, and I kind of express this shape here like that. Actually, that's a mistake. This shape comes like that, and then this one's a little bit tucked in like that. This is the first part we must do. I want to get a longer one. This feels a lot better. See that? You get a lot more of a fluid, flowing kind of action when you have the right size fine charcoal. Sometimes it's encouraged that the learner make what's called a silhouetted shape of their main form. Now you should only do this with fine charcoal because something lighter is going to be inside here. And since I know that, I might even want to make my marks a little less intense here. I'm not going to make this black. I'm just going to make it like a shape like that. Something you never really have seen me do before. There's something about looking for the silhouette of a given object to give it a solid drawing feel. So this helps you with what's called solid drawing. The two stones that I had next to the nest, I'm not going to draw. I just wanted to show you how you can switch out objects and put in the nest. You could put other things in the nest too. Doesn't necessarily have to be a bird's egg. So the idea is think out of the box, be creative. Now I have to admit, I didn't include this straggler as part of the whole. Some of you might want to do that, and I would say sure, you would just have to, have something like that from the beginning, and then you'd measure from here to here to get that. And how would you do that? You would hold your pencil like this and measure from the outer part of the nest, which is that straggling blade of grass, and then where the bottom of the nest is, and I got something like that. And then you go like this, and notice how if I do this twice, it's the exact same distance from here to here. So that's how this measuring system works. Making some alterations to fine-tune the shape. Now I'm going to show you the nest, and we're going to talk about how we got to this point, looking at the actual subject. It's a little bit different from my drawing because of the angle, but this is the best I could do with my camera setup. So first of all, when you measure, you're measuring from here to here for the vertical, and then from here to, I decided to include this straggler here for the horizontal, and then I made my box. And then what you do is you hold your pencil like this to get the diagonal. See, like that, you hold it like that. I'm hoping that this works for you. Let's see, it looks right. And then you just bring that over, pivot it over to your easel and mark down the angle. And then I proceeded to block in using main diagonal strokes. What I mean by that is start from big to little. So the big lines here, a big line there, a big stroke there, a big stroke here, and then you kind of whittle it down into shape to get more detail as you proceed. Do you see how that all puts it into perspective? And so we want to do a little bit more fine tuning. I'm going to show you some of this right now before I turn off the camera. My last video was almost 2 hours to draw a pear, my god. So I might have to make this one into 2 parts because I don't want to jip the viewer. I don't want to just bang out this thing and you only see a progression without me actually drawing. I might have to cut a couple of parts out, but really I want you to see what the heck I'm doing. This is designed for somebody who really is genuinely curious, like, how did you do that? How would you start a drawing? And again, this ain't the only way. This is I think more of a universal way that has been put together over the years, and that's what I was after for when I was that's what I was looking for when I was a student. I wanted to know how a lot of artists did what they did before the camera was invented, and even after a little bit. You know, Courbet even knew about these techniques. A lot of the French artists of the Impressionist era, and just before the Impressionist era, they all went to these schools that I was talking about. They know this traditional technique, and so what I'm doing is kind of giving you the same experience that some of these earlier artists had. And then the idea is that the learner could take it and do with it what they will. Because I don't try to say that this is the only way you should make art. That's definitely not what I'm saying. Not at all. This is to give you something to latch onto. Because how do you even start to learn how to draw? And then what does that even mean? There are ways of just looking at photographs and just drawing from photographs all your life, and that's fine. And we do that. And so, but here we're doing this more traditional drawing from life type experience. Now, what I'm doing, remember I said how sometimes you can approximate things in combination to like you're measuring things. So I pretty much measured this pretty darn good, and I'm gonna put the shape of the seashell like first I make it like this rectangle, like I measured it, and I'm looking at that now. Before I even draw the thing, I'm gonna start to measure a little bit and just kind of see. First of all, I'm gonna figure out from the end of the nest to the left side of the seashell, and I go like this. You see that? And it's halfway to there. So I hit that. I approximated and I got it pretty darn good. Now I'm going to go from the same part here, measuring the actual nest, to here. You see how I'm doing that? So let's do that. See, that goes here, and it should go like this from here to here. And I'm a little bit off, not too much. And just for the sake of argument, I'm going to go to the bottom of the nest to the bottom of our seashell. Bottom of the nest, bottom of our seashell. That was right on the money. And see how I just sketched it in there, and now I'm proofing it. You see, you sketch something in and then proof it with our measuring technique. The better you get, the less you have to always measure everything. Now I'm going from the bottom of the nest to the top of the seashell. Bottom of the nest here. See that where my thumb is? And then, oh, okay. Now there's a problem here. Okay. Make sure I know what the heck I'm doing. Bottom of the nest to the top of the seashell. Always know what the heck you're doing. And there we have it. Yeah, I must have measured the bottom of the seashell again. So I got that pretty exact. You see that? Now what I can do is just actually draw the seashell by using a series of angles. Remember we talked about that. Watch how I'm doing this in real time. You'll see me draw this little guy. And the angle, I just kind of feel how that goes here. And I'm a little bit of a awkward guy, you know. I'm just naturally awkward. You might find more of a graceful way to do some of these things. But I know the technique, and I'm showing you it. Now there's an overlap of bird nest material, bird nest matter, which is grass, covering part of that seashell. And so that's what we have. You see that? As you could see, I had already started to go in here with my charcoal pencil. You could use a 2B or an HB. I'm using an HB. And I already got the individual grass being drawn. Now where there's a really fine, thin blade of grass, I make it as a thin line. And so I want you to see me do some of these main features. I'm hitting it with the main features first. And notice I'm trying not to use any curves, although I kind of did here and here. It's not a sin to use curves once in a while, but I don't want to have like a bubbly circle type scribble, which a lot of people would start drawing this like this. Notice how we did not do that. First we used vertical and horizontal lines, and then we incorporated a big old diagonal line, and then we started coming with mini diagonal lines. The curves come later. This is the essence of the Charles Barg School of Design technique. This is a very good demonstration for people who will approach me and say, how do you draw hair? And this might look like Baba Yaga's hair, but it's still going to help you kill two stones with one bird, in such that when you draw things like this and hair, you look for the shapes. The last thing you want to do is this. And you're drawing hair like this, like, you know, the individual strands. That's not the way to do hair. So, same thing with drawing this bird's nest, how we are doing it here. And let's see. You really want to give yourself a chance if you're a serious learner. We all want to just draw people doing things and animals doing things, all the, you know, action, you know, going out to space or whatever, you know, go 20,000 leagues under the sea. And it's like, well, first try drawing like a seahorse, you know. So it's like we want to do so much, you know, you want to illustrate the battle at Valley Forge, you know, immediately. It's like, well, you know, if you know somebody with, you know, historical firearms, maybe you want to do like a little still life with that kind of memorabilia. Like, same with sports, you know, you want to draw sports scenes, you know, or paint sports scenes. You might want to start with looking at a baseball glove and a baseball bat, you know, set that up in an arrangement and try drawing that stuff. So you really get a sense of life when you actually draw from life. And I've never seen, you know, think about the subject matter. Who's ever seen a bird's nest with like a seashell in there or two? I've never seen that. Maybe you have. And so here we are doing that today. And this is tricky. You don't want to just fake it till you make it. I'm really over here trying to lock in these shapes and these forms. The vine charcoal gave me a clean sweep of a line like that. Now with the compressed, I come in and I do more of a fine-tuned kind of a application. And you know, don't rush it. You know, you really want to check it off with reality. You know, you're drawing this thing from real life. Okay. I think we're ready to move on. So I wanted you to see this part. Take a look. Don't be afraid. I really kind of beat it up with my brush. I can even hit this with the Bob Ross brush stroke. Little Bob Ross action. Now I also wanted to make note of the detail of this nest and how to avoid drawing every little strand in the beginning. So instead I did the big strands all using angles as opposed to a bunch of curves. And then afterwards, look over here. These are expressions of multiple strands that are woven together to make the strength of the bird's nest. These birds are really clever. They create these nests. They actually weave more or less without thinking about it. They're just doing it. I don't know. and it looks pretty neat. So, but what I did here to express the direction of the grass by making key marks like this, and so you can actually see a flow. The angle might be a little bit different, but let's study the subject a little bit more. You can see the main shapes I've put in, and for all those detailed areas, all these blades of grass, I just kind of show some of the main ones by some lines that are coming in at a curve here, and then here, but I stop, and the rest will happen when I start shading. Here we have the beginning of the background area, and I'm doing the customary dark background gradient to a light foreground, on which you have the nest resting on the marble slab, and so I used a compressed charcoal stick. 4B is fine, and I went in there with detail. Where you can't get the detail with the charcoal stick, use a charcoal pencil, and I recommend I start out with a 2B, then I got in with a 4B. Now I'll show you a little bit of this. Because this is kind of detailed, you don't want to go in with a brush, so you might have to come in with your blender, and I recommend just kind of coming in here and really take the time to do this right. Don't rush. See, again, you know, and I experienced it too. I just wanted to draw the nest, and I haven't even started shading the nest. I'm spending all this time in the background first before I even get into the foreground, and that's a good practice. So as you can see, I'm not going to do this in front of you for the whole duration of this background treatment, but I'll just come in here for, like, look at the details, like right here. You have to. This is where the blender comes in handy. See that? And then you come in here like so. Hope my shoulder is not in your way. You know, rest it on your support stick like this, and hold it. Like, find a way that is comfort for you to hold this. Like, sometimes I have to fumble, but like this seems to work, and I can just come in here like that. Just go in there like that. I can do this whole area nice, clean blending of that area, and then here like so, and you know, we can do this area right here, and again, like, notice how it's not completely dark. It's a little bit bald in some of these areas. A lot of the beginners will just press harder and really try to push, and then they go circular. You know, the circular is not that bad. Micro circular motions are fine. Little areas like that. That seems to work, you know. But what you have to do, and I'll just show you in this concentrated area, you have to reach for your stuff and say, okay, I need a compressed charcoal here. You know, I have to come back in here and with more charcoal. And you got to be patient like that, you see? See, it's much more rich, right? And then you come back. So I'm going to come back with my blender, and I'm going to come in here like that. And also, you have to, like, this is the time to really get into the fidelity of the form here. And so I'm going to get an HB, and I'm going to really clean this up. Again, if it's too hard, you know, you can't get it so dark. I just want to clean it up like this. But in this little triangle here, I got to get a darker pencil. That's right, that's supposed to be a dark negative area. So I'm going to come in here with my other pencil and get this like that. See how that is? See how that works? So you gotta tell it what to do. And like even this, you go, well, I want that to be a little bit more of a clean edge. So when you remove the tape, it's a nice crisp edge. Be observant of this whole area. Whatever it is that you have on here is what your viewers are going to see. And is it meant to be there, or is it a distraction? What I did was I brought the drawing to the side and I proceeded to hone in with my 4B pencil to get all this clean edged detail. And I come in with my blender. And to be honest with you, I had to get my face in there. There were times when I was doing this when the camera was off. I was actually going like that. And like sometimes you got to do that. I don't recommend doing that for your entire drawing experience, you know, in your drawing session. But once in a while you got to just get in there, and that's what I had to do. So right now I just wanted to share this part with you as I clean up the top part of this. And it's looking pretty good. A lot had been accomplished so far. We have the correct shape of the nest, and then we also have a correct treatment of the negative and positive space. The black is a negative space, and we have this positive space popping out, even right down to individual strands. So we're actually able to identify what this is even before it's long before it's done. And so I'm mindful of how I treat my edges, because I want to make this part of the drawing. Like, how is that going to look? Like, for instance, like this thing here, that straggler, I'm going to get rid of it because I don't like it. See that? Remember, everything you put in here, or everything you leave in here, is going to be seen by the viewer. And it's going to be good or bad for your drawing. So in any event, let's continue. Let's get over here. I feel obligated to show you how I'm going to treat this part. How are we going to go from dark to light? And this is a technique. Thing is, I can't go back into the dark area and then bring it back down, because it's going to be a mess. I have to do it systematically, like that. I can't go like this and like that and like that. I can go like this. Well, let me clean this up a little bit. I can go like this again and go like this. And then go back into the lighter area. I can even go like this. And go down into the lighter area. I can try that here. But the moment I go like this, and then this, and then this again, that would get all ruined. So be careful, be mindful of that. Another thing I can try is my little brush. And I'm going to go from the light area into the dark. Like that. Light area into the dark. Like that. And then I'm going to come over here with my brush and just kind of gently work along the form of our nest here, like that. It kind of got away from me over here, but we could always play with that. As long as we're mindful of the fact that this is going to be cleaner in the end for aesthetic reasons. Okay.